Hi everyone, my name is Dominic Luck, and I'd like to first start by thanking you for stopping by and checking out my video. The reason I'm making this video is because before I get into that, let me give you a little disclaimer. This is really the first video that I've done on this topic, so it's a little more personal, and I really don't make videos like this anyway. I mean, I made a few recently, but nothing like this. So you'll have to excuse any of the stumbles or mistakes I make. I'm not necessarily the best orator yet, so I'm working on that. But back to my back to my story. The reason I'm here is because for about, I'd say, 11 years now, I've been experiencing something that I just recently found out, maybe about 3.5 years ago, that a lot of people were experiencing, and they were calling it an awakening. Basically you're waking up. I guess you could say out of a self. I don't even want to call it a self-induced slumber. Because you're kind of led into it, and then you kind of keep yourself in it. But it's more like you're just kind of awakening to the world around you in a different way than you've been taught or told, or it's been portrayed to you. And you're able to see things differently, and you start feeling things differently, and noticing things differently, and just kind of understanding things differently. And all these extra, I guess you could say, senses kind of awaken, and then you're just on this different level of, I guess you could say, consciousness, as far as being consciously aware of what's going on around you. And like I said, this kind of started for me about 11 years ago, and at the time I didn't know what was happening. I've always been kind of a quiet, keep to myself, observant person as a kid. Unfortunately, to the extent that I I missed out on a lot of social things as a teen and things of that nature, just because of how kind of in my own head I always was. But I did get a chance to observe a lot of things, and I still have friends and things like that. So I was able to observe my environment around me, and kind of come to conclusions about how I thought about it. So I was really more of a thinker all my life. It was like a natural thing. It just kind of happened, I guess, or maybe it's just who I was, or who I am. But with that observation, and then kind of at around the age 24, 25, I started to question a lot of the things that I've been taught and told, and kind of looking around and wondering why things were the way they were. Like, things just never really added up, and a lot of the things I was taught didn't make sense, because even as a kid, I remember questioning some things. I grew up in a Catholic Christian household, and yeah, even as a child, a lot of things didn't quite make sense to me, and I was always just wondering about it, and nobody ever seemed to have answers for me. So I guess, being as though that was the way it was, I started seeking out answers on my own, because if you're asking around and no one has answers, you can either stay in the dark or you can figure it out. And I guess, being as though I always had like an analytical mind, I was trying to get answers, like, well, why this, why that? The same thing we all ask ourselves at one point, at least the question, why are we here? I think most people ask themselves that question at some point in their life. I just asked a lot more whys. And with that, I kind of began a mission to figure things out, or kind of understand things better. And I didn't grow up in the best environment. I didn't have the best childhood. I mean, it wasn't horrible. I mean, I had, my mom did her best to try to take care of me. My father wasn't in my life. I have a sister, and things were cool. Like, as a kid, you kind of don't know what is really going on, or how different your environment is, or your parents are compared to other people's, until you kind of get out there. So everything just seemed normal. But as an adult, I can look back on it and see that there were a lot of deficiencies in my childhood. And I think that also is what led me to figuring things out on my own, just because I started noticing different things. Being as I was observant, I noticed, how come their parents are like that, or how come this person is like that? Just more so just asking why. And I think that's a very important thing for people to do. Just in general, kind of ask why, constructively, and at least think about it for a little bit. Try to understand things. I think understanding is a very important thing in life, and in like communicating with others. Understanding maybe where they're coming from a little bit, so that you can kind of um, compromise to some extent, as far as maybe if your viewpoints are different, if you need to work with somebody or you're in a relationship, their compromise is always necessary to some extent, as long as it's not affecting or violating any of your morals, or your beliefs. That even with morals and beliefs, even I believe even those to some extent should be evaluated. And I think that's the trouble, is that there's a lack of kind of evaluating oneself, and really even looking inwardly, I guess, for answers. I think a lot of people, including myself at one point, and even I'm sure to this day, still kind of look outwardly for answers to things that I haven't quite figured out yet. And it's not always a bad thing if you're looking in the right place. It all depends on where you're looking. If you're looking at people who've been there, done that, and have become successful and have made it through the problems that you've had, then yeah. But if you're just asking someone who's in the same boat as you, yeah, you're not going to go anywhere. But again, so this is where it starts. I'm sorry, I get off on tangents sometimes, but basically just giving you a little bit of background on how I got to where I'm at now, and so yeah, so from the age of about 25 to I'd say about 32-ish, I kind of it was more so like a trial and error thing, to where I would learn something, try to implement it into my life the best way I could, and see what happened and see how it worked. And through doing that, I mean, I learned a lot of things, and I saw that a lot of things that I was looking into, and people I was kind of allowing to coach me were true. Things like law of attraction, and putting out positive vibes is going to return that to you type thing. So with that, I mean, these little experiments would take place over certain lengths of time. It wasn't like I tried one day and it'd work. I mean, I would have ups and downs. I think we all do, especially when you're trying to find your way somewhere that doesn't have a beaten path, and everyone else around you isn't looking to do that. I mean, it's a really tricky thing. You kind of get pulled back and forth between the search for the answers to your questions in life, or fitting in type thing. And it's a tricky thing, especially in today's society. And I think actually that kind of conformity mindset, and everybody having to be a certain way to fit in, is a big problem that we face as a society, as a people. But it's interesting how something like that can be a good thing or a bad thing. I realize that everything in life has kind of like a good side or bad side, depending on how you perceive it. I think every situation can be perceived either good or bad. I mean, I think there's both kind of in every situation, no matter what it is. And I know that can be kind of hard to see sometimes, but let some time pass and reflect, and maybe you will see something good that came out of it. So I think that's the case with a lot of things. So I mean, if it was a matter of everybody was, positive and in the right state of mind and all working towards one goal, that kind of wanting to fit in and conformity, that could be great. That would be great. You know what I mean? But at the same time, trying to fit in with everybody, trying to be cool, spending your money a certain way, hanging out with certain types of people or females or guys, acting violently towards each other because there's lack of understanding or conscious awareness of a situation, and people only knowing how to react to situations and not respond. They don't take time to think about it and think things through. But I think that's all kind of set up by design. But that's a whole nother topic for a whole nother story, for a whole nother video, I should say. But getting back to my story, like I was saying, about 3 years ago, roughly, I started, going online, getting on YouTube, and seeing that other people were having these experiences. And it was great. It's an amazing thing to know you're not alone and know, like, damn, all these things that I'm feeling, it's not just me. I mean, it's a wonderful thing. And something else that I was noticing was that I was having these thoughts and ideas about my life in the situations, or how I perceive things or what I thought about things, because I would create my own, like my belief system. It's basically like my own, based on my personal experience and what I see and experience as a human being. It's not what people tell me, because I find that you can't trust a lot of people, even if you think they're trustworthy. You have to kind of find things out and explore on your own. And I would say you definitely want to have more perspective than one. It's kind of like, if you were I don't know, say the mayor of Ohio, and next thing you know, they're asking you to be president of the United States, right? You get to position, but all you know is how to manage Ohio. You're not concerned, or you knew really nothing about international affairs and security of the states and things of that nature. There's so much that you don't know. So what do? You do the best you can, and you just kind of focus on Ohio, maybe the surrounding areas, and try to make it work the best you can. And you might have been a good president to some people, but at the same time, you didn't have the perspective, you didn't have the knowledge, to really grasp the whole picture. You just kind of have this narrow view of, I guess, the world, or in this case, a narrow view of thinking. You kind of only are limited to this one way of thinking. When you're limited to that one way of thinking, I just think you miss out a lot on the experience of being a human being when you limit yourself. I think once you kind of broaden your horizons as far as what type of information you bring in, not saying that you have to follow it and wholeheartedly believe in all of it, just take the good information, or the good or the relevant information, at least to your life, hold on to that, and you get rid of the rest. Then you kind of look into something else. And by doing that, it allows you to form a belief system that fits your life and that you actually understand. And it's not necessarily that you're coming up with it by yourself, because you're looking to other people who maybe are more knowledgeable about a certain topic or religion or situation, and you're getting that information from someone who's experienced. And then again, you're just taking what works for you and saying, thanks for your help. I'm going to see what this person's up to. And then once you do that, then go ahead, sit back, and then think about it. Add things up, connect dots, figure things out. I mean, all I can say is when you take the time to think outside the box, and you're really open-minded and listening to other things, at least, you will definitely start. It'll definitely start to kind of change your perspective of things, and that's going to allow you to grow. Because I do think growth is limited when you limit your intake of knowledge or life. But yeah, so I noticed people were having these experiences, and it wasn't only me, so it was a great thing. And it's been a long time, and I have done certain things to try to add to the my desire to contribute to the community as a whole, as far as trying to help people along and share the knowledge that I have kind of learned along the way, and to maybe help people learn from my mistakes, as they're coming along in their journey, whatever that may be. So yeah, that's why I'm here. I mean, I felt like it was my time to kind of become a part of the community, kind of get in there, and hopefully someone will be able to relate to my situation and me in general, and kind of be able to get some kind of benefit from just hearing my story. So yeah, so this is the beginning of that. Like I said, I do have a few other things. I have a website. It's called voiceofvisionmovement.com. I'll leave the links below if you want to check it out. And yeah, this is the channel basically for that. And I have a couple other videos. Nothing major. One I started a while ago. It's just a kind of a me thinking things through, like kind of me doing what I do and evaluating my life and the situations. If you want to check that out, I'll maybe put a link right here for that, and then you can click on that and check it out. I'll also leave the link below for that video. And yeah, so I hope this has helped somebody. I hope this, I guess, series of videos I make is going to help somebody. This is more of my, introductory video. I really look forward to meeting new people and talking with you guys, and just getting to know new people in general, hearing your stories, and hearing what wonderful things are happening to you, and also sharing what things are happening in my life as well and the things that I've learned. So I'm really excited, and I look forward to talking with you guys. So until the next one, you guys keep it moving and just stay positive. All right, peace.